And in this video, I'm going to do a start to a new series of film reviews. It's my favourite genre of films. It's found footage horror films. So I thought I'd start off with the one that introduced me to found footage horror, The Blair Witch Project. So I'm going to do a review on the film and let you know why this film means a lot to me. This film was released in 1999 and it was written, directed and produced by Eduardo Sanchez and Daniel Myrick. It's a student film style documentary with three people. It's Heather Donahue, Josh Leonard and Mike Williams. They're investigating the legend of the Blair Witch in this village called Burkittsville in Maryland in the United States. So this is a found footage film. At the start of the film it says that three documentary filmmakers went out to make a documentary and this is the footage that was found. So it starts off with them getting prepared to go to the town of Burkittsville, and when they're there they're interviewing locals about the supposed Blair Witch haunting. And there's an interesting folklore as well in the 1940s where apparently some children were murdered and they were taken two by two and one was put in the corner while the other one was murdered, which is very significant to the end of the film. So once they've gone and done the interview around Burkittsville, they head off to somewhere called Coffin Rock, which was supposedly a murder site in the 1800s. It takes them quite a while to hike there, so once they get there they set up camp because they'll not get back before it's dark, so decide to set off the next morning. Things start going wrong around this time. There's a lot of spooky things happening, like they wake up and there's these cairns that are around the camp and Heather knocks one over by mistake and she puts it back, and they're worried that they might have offended the people who are out in the woods. They sort of realise that they might be lost because they can't get back to where they thought the car was, and there's a lot of arguing going on. And then Mike admits that he did kick them up in the water out of frustration. So there's a lot of fighting going on, and they start to attack Mike out of frustration. And then they end up having to camp for the night because they've lost all the light. So whilst they're camping for the night, they hear a lot of strange noises, like children laughing, rustling in the trees. Then the tent starts shaking, so they run out terrified and hide in the woods until sunrise, until they could go back to the tent and see what's happened. When they get back, all of the stuff has been rifled through and all of Josh's stuff and equipment's covered in this sort of slime. So at this point Josh has a mental breakdown and he's not doing very well, and then the next morning they wake up and find that he's disappeared without a trace and he's left the camera. He's just gone. So later that night they hear screams coming from the distance. They choose not to go and investigate, believing that they could have Josh and they're trying to lure them both out, so they decide to stay where they are. And then the next morning Heather discovers a bundle made up of Josh's clothes with a tooth and part of his tongue. She decides not to tell Mike and keeps it to herself. And then you see Heather doing an apology to Josh's parents. It's the famous camera selfie thing that everyone seems to do these days, but at the time it was quite new that people did that. And it's been parodied quite a lot as well on the scary movie films as well. So that night as well, Heather and Mike, they're lured into an abandoned house, hearing who they think is Josh is screaming. When they go in they find a lot of ritualistic things on the wall with child's handprints in blood, and you just see the footage of Mike's camera, him being attacked and him dropping the camera, and Heather trying to find him, and she goes into the downstairs basement and Mike stood in the corner, and you see Heather getting whacked, and then the camera falls on the floor and then the footage ends. So yeah, it's a really psychological film. I mean, I really like it because you don't see anything. It's all psychological journey. You've got to use your imagination quite a bit, and it is genuinely terrifying. I remember when this come out on my 16th birthday, and I went to see it at the cinema, and my friends were like, "That's rubbish. That was rubbish. It wasn't even scary." But I was actually terrified on the bus on the way home, and trying not to act like I was bothered, but it was really scary. And I think it's the way they filmed it. It was shot in, so it was the style of 1994. So they were given, I had to write this down, an Hi8 camera and a CP16 camera, and they've just filmed it was 20 hours of filming altogether, edited to 80 minutes, and they just left them in the woods with the script was mainly improvised with just simple instructions to act out a scene. So I think a lot of it is quite realistic, especially at night when they would frighten them on purpose to make them scared, and I think it's really shows how it gives it a certain level of authenticity, I think. So I mean, the film did really well. The budget was $500,000 and it made $248 million in the box office. There was a sequel as well, Book of Shadows, which was half documentary, half horror film as well, which it's not too bad. It's not as good as the first one, but I quite enjoyed watching it. And obviously Blair Witch, that come out as well a few years ago, which is not as good as, I don't think as good as you can't do it as good as the first one, especially in modern times now as well, with people having a lot of iPhones and GPS systems and that. It just, in 1994 GPS was around, but it was so expensive to have, and obviously there was no mobile phones or anything, so if it did seem like the world lost and they had no contact. I mean, nowadays it's a lot easier to be found with all the GPS devices and things. You can call for help a lot easier. Then it wasn't, so I think re-releasing it just didn't have the same impact that it did when it first come round. So yeah, it's still one of my favourite found footage films. It still has that level of scariness which I really like, and I enjoy watching it each time. I think because the actors were fairly unknown. I know Heather was in a few American commercials before this came out, but they were all relatively unknown, and they used the real names as well, which added another level of authenticity, which I think was really good. So yeah, this gets 10 out of 10 for me. Awesome film, and I really enjoy it. Each time it has that level of scariness that's always good. Yes, so that's the end of that review for me. I hope you enjoyed this and as always got something out of it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, let me know what you think. I covered this briefly on a collaboration I did for the top 20 Halloween films on another channel, the Sci-First movie reviews. I'll put a link in that as well if you want to have a look at that one. It was really good, and check out his channel, he's doing some really good stuff on there as well. But yeah, if you like this video, please let me know in the comments what you think, and any other found footage films that you really enjoy. I'll see if I've seen them, probably have, because it's my favourite genre, but you never know, and I'll look into doing a review on them. But yeah, that's it for me. Hope to see you in another video. Until then, bye bye.